Part 162. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1611. Chapter 1611 Extra Chapter of Xiaofeng and His Wife, 139. No, come here. Yu Lingfeng waved to Qian Yanjiu. Qian Yanjiu breathed a sigh of relief. Damn you, you thought I was so unlucky today. Step into the trap as soon as you come. But how did Yu Lingfeng know where the trap was? Before Qian Yanjiu had time to ask Yu Lingfeng what was going on, Yu Lingfeng suddenly took out something, threw it forward, and then with a bang, a path was blown out. Qian Yanjiu was so frightened by the sudden explosion that he hugged his head and ran outside until he could react. Qian Yanjiu stood up straight and glared at Yu Lingfeng. Damn it, could you tell me in advance when you throw the bomb? It will injure friendly forces, okay. Yu Lingfeng ignored him and walked along the path that had just been blown up. Qian Yanjiu turned around and discovered the path that had been blasted out. Qian Yanjiu's heart skipped a beat and he was completely stunned. What kind of black weapon was that Yu Lingfeng just threw? What kind of cool move is it to blow up a road? OMG, this person is weird, and his equipment is so weird? Qian Yanjiu shook his head, thought no more, and followed Yu Lingfeng. Hey, Yu Lingfeng, what was that thing you just threw away? You don't understand even if I tell you. Yu Lingfeng looked back at Qian Yanjiu casually, looking around. It stands to reason that the shadow hunters should be ambushing here, but he just made such a big noise, why haven't those people come out yet? When Yu Lingfeng was confused, arrows suddenly shot from all directions. Qian Yanjiu yelled F***ck and then began to hide. These densely packed arrows were hitting them like raindrops. Compared to Qian Yanjiu's panic, Yu Lingfeng seemed much calmer. Yu Lingfeng picked up a branch from the ground, and then shot back the arrows shot at him one by one. Fortunately, Qian Yanjiu couldn't protect himself, so he didn't have time to see how Yu Lingfeng would fight back, otherwise he would be scared to death again. Tell him how he did that. Wait until this shower of arrows passes. Qian Yanjiu was panting from exhaustion, but Yu Lingfeng next to him was still full of fairy spirit. Are you okay? Yu Lingfeng asked Qian Yanjiu, who was holding his knees with both hands and breathing heavily. Qian Yanjiu looked up, and the dense beads of sweat on his forehead reflected the intensity of the battle he had just fought. However, when Qian Yanjiu saw Yu Lingfeng who remained calm, he was stunned. Why are you so relaxed? If not. Yu Lingfeng saw that he was fine, so he stopped asking any more questions. Qian Yanjiu stood up straight and sighed again. You have a little genetic mutation, right? Yu Lingfeng didn't reply to him. At this time, the shadow hunters finally couldn't bear it anymore and showed up. They have been hiding in the dark watching Yu Lingfeng's counterattack. Originally, they wanted to see how Yu Lingfeng and Qian Yanjiu died, but in the end, these two people completely shocked them. Even if this person can survive, is he still a human being? After the trap failed, they went out in full force. Qian Yanjiu looked at the murderous people around Wu Yangyang and felt as if the temperature around him had dropped. Yu Lingfeng, it's time for you to show off your skills. You pretended to be cool at first, but now you have to pay it forward. Yu Lingfeng glanced around, but there was still no emotion on his face. Which side do you want? Qian Yanjiu was stunned. What? Front, back, left, or right? You choose one. Left. Well, the left side is left to you. Yu Lingfeng said, his eyes gradually narrowed, staring at the person with sinister eyes. Qian Yanjiu took a breath. What does this guy mean? The left side was given to him, but he took care of the front, back and right by himself. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1612. Chapter 1612 Extra Chapter of Xiaofeng and his wife, 140. Qian Yanjia grabbed Yu Lingfeng's arm and said seriously, "Hey," I said, "it's already this time, can you stop showing off?" The shadow hunters obviously wanted to kill Qian Yanjia by the way. The collapse of the shadow hunter organization was inseparable from Qian Shat. As the leader of Qinsha, Qian Yanjia has always been in close contact with Yu Lingfeng and his group. Under the guise of cooperating with Qian Yanjia, they were actually just planning to kill two birds with one stone and catch everyone in one fell swoop. Qian Yanjia had realized this just now. He hated being deceived most in his life. Now, the group of shadow hunters had offended him. Simply unforgivable. Yu Lingfeng looked sideways, looked at Qian Yanjia's red eyes, and said, "You are not trying to be brave. If you can't hold on any longer, just call me anytime." Qian Yanjia. "I'm telling you, don't be brave, okay? He is only facing one side. What Yu Lingfeng has to face is the power from three parties. Alright, you are great, so go ahead." When Qian Yanjia was about to say something, Yu Lingfeng said in a deep voice, "Go up, otherwise it will be difficult for us to escape when the area surrounded by them becomes smaller and smaller." Qian Yanjia nodded. Thus, Qian Yanjia and Yu Lingfeng were like bows and arrows shot out, directly confronting the shadow hunters group of well-equipped top killers at a speed that was invisible to the naked eye. Qian Yanjia suddenly became excited. He had been practicing in seclusion for 7 years, and finally had a chance to test his effectiveness openly. The last time he competed with Yu Lingfeng, he lost, and he has been depressed and unable to extricate himself. Now he wants to avenge his shame. Shadow hunters and Qinsha have always been enemies. This time they started the war first, so don't blame him for being ruthless. However, when Qian Yanjia was fighting seriously, there were waves of exclamations coming from behind him. Is it a human this time? What the hell? Help! Qian Yanjia frowned, but he didn't bother to look back to see what happened. By the time Qian Yanjia dealt with the enemy on his side, he was exhausted. There was a cut on his arm, but nothing else. Qian Yanjia hurriedly turned around, preparing to assist Yu Lingfeng. Who would have thought that when I turned around, I would see a group of people on the ground who were screaming and almost crying after being beaten. Qian Yanjia was shocked. Looking back at Yu Lingfeng, he was still in peace with the world, with his immortal mantle fluttering. Not at all like someone who had just fought a fierce battle. Qian Yanjia was completely convinced now. He also suddenly realized that he would never be able to defeat this man in his life, and he would never be able to achieve the height and level of Yu Lingfeng. What a show! Yu Lingfeng turned around to face Qian Yanjia's surprised gaze and looked Qian Yanjia up and down. "Are you injured?" Qian Yanjia's face turned dark and he almost wanted to curse. "I just fought against 20 or 30 masters. It would be a shame if I could not get hurt. It's not like everyone is cheating like Yu Lingfeng." Qian Yanjia was confused for a long time, and then Yu Lingfeng threw a small bottle of something over. Qian Yanjia caught it and asked doubtfully, "What is this?" "Apply it to the wound and it will heal in a few days." Qian Yanjia frowned and looked at the small bottle of something doubtfully. Why does Yu Lingfeng have everything? Like a little jingle bell. Yu Lingfeng stepped forward, stepped on the face of the leading shadow hunter, and asked him coldly, "If you don't want so many people to be buried with you, just tell me where 11 Zhu and Qianyins are." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1613. Chapter 1613 Extra Chapter of Xiaofeng and his wife, 141. Shadow hunters are all people who understand current affairs. The two people in front of them are completely capable of destroying them, so for the sake of the continuation of the Shadow Hunter organization, they chose to compromise. Yu Lingfeng and Qian Yanjiu came to the place they mentioned and found 11 Zhu and Qian Yins. Damn it, why are you tied like a rice dumpling? Qian Yanjiu laughed unscrupulously. Qian Yins rolled his eyes. This guy must have laughed at him thousands of times in his heart. Yu Lingfeng untied them and then removed the tape sealing their mouths. Master! Zihu called out weakly, with the mentality of a child who does something wrong and is afraid of being blamed by his parents. Yu Lingfeng had a straight face and did not respond to him. 11 Zhu pursed his lips. Yu Lingfeng must have spent a lot of energy to find them. Even they themselves don't know how they were kidnapped. I saw wrong Ci. Qian Yin spoke, and Yu Lingfeng paused and turned to look at him. Wrong Ci seems to have changed as a person. Qian Yanjiu curled his lips and said, I guessed it right. If it's right, you should have seen Lan 11, right? Qian Yins was stunned, how do you know? Because wrong Ci became like this, it must be because of Lan 11. Qian Yanjiu said. Qian Yins looked at Qian Yanjiu doubtfully, have you guessed this? Otherwise, do you think I'm such a stupid person like you? Hey, who do you think is stupid? You, why do you have problems with your understanding? Stop the quarrel. Yu Lingfeng interrupted, if you want to make a quarrel, just change it to another place. As soon as Yu Lingfeng finished speaking, Qian Yanjiu and Qian Yinjiu stopped talking. West Ju stroked his forehead, it was a disaster for these two brothers to meet each other. The few of them are going back to Yu Lingfeng's house to discuss the matter seriously. Suddenly, Yu Lingfeng walked towards the convenience store nearby. What are you going to do? Thousands of Yanjiu questions. Yu Lingfeng turned back and glanced at the three people, buying candy for my Xiajin, you people without a family won't understand. The three people without families looked at each other, and then Qian Yins hugged 11 Zhu and looked at Qian Yanjiu with a stern look on his face, people without families won't understand. Qian Yanjiu suddenly wanted to strangle this man to death. Yu Lingfeng carried a bag of colorful candies and walked up to the three of them. Let's go home. After returning home, Xiajin happily took the candy bar given by Yu Lingfeng and gave Yu Lingfeng a sip. Then he shouted sweetly, Uncle Zihu, Godfather, are you back? Qian Yin smiled and hugged Xiajin. Qian Yanjiu's face darkened, and he grabbed Yu Lingfeng's sleeve and asked, why is Qian Yin's Xiajin's godfather? Because he is handsome. Qian Yin's rushed to answer, not feeling anything wrong with what he said. Qian Yanjiu rolled his eyes gorgeously, and then said to Yu Lingfeng, I don't care, I still want to be Xiajin's godfather. Xiajin raised her head and glanced at the fierce Qian Yanjiu, then hid behind Yu Lingfeng. Let's wait and see when you find your godmother. Qian Yin's last's the last hit. Qian Yanjiu couldn't bear it anymore and chased him and wanted to beat Qian Yin's, but Qian Yin started to run away. So, the two people, who together were in their 40s, chased up and down Yu Lingfeng's castle. Xiajin thought they were both too childish to see. Yu Lingfeng took the opportunity to teach Xiajin, remember not to follow these two fools in the future. Xiajin smiled, then nodded. However, the two fools still had a great time. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1614. Chapter 1614 Extra Chapter of Xiafeng and His Wife, 142. After quieting down, Qian Yin sat down with everyone with a few big bags on his head, and began to talk about Rong Ci and Lan 11 seriously and solemnly. Xiajin had already gone to take a nap, and Xia Ying followed a few others and listened to their conversation. As soon as Xia Ying came in, she was shocked by the big bump on Qian Yin's head. What's wrong with you? Qian Yin's gave the instigator a blank look, Ask that person. Qian Yanjiu drank tea slowly and said, you owe it to yourself. I said I haven't seen you for several years, how come your kung fu has improved so quickly? In the past, I was always treated like a weakling by Qian Yins, okay. How come things have turned the other way around after not seeing each other for a few years? Qian Yins expressed that she was in a very unhappy mood. I spent those few years practicing in seclusion. I just won a fight with 20 or 30 Shadow Hunter masters a few days ago. If it hadn't been for the injury on my arm, you would have had more than just a few bumps on your head. Qian Yin's face darkened. Forget it, considering that he was still injured after saving him, he wouldn't care about him. But, Yu Lingfeng, the medicine you gave me is really useful. Qian Yanjiu was full of praise. As soon as I apply it, the pain disappears immediately. The effect is so remarkable. Yu Lingfeng is really a geek, he has everything and knows everything. If he were a woman, he would also want to marry Yu Lingfeng. Well, I got some medicine by the way when I went to Chu Shenming's laboratory for research some time ago. Yu Lingfeng then added, he doesn't know. If Chu Shenming knew about it, he would definitely pester him again, asking how Yu Lingfeng did it, and dealing with troublesome things like copyright. Is there anything you don't know how to do? Qian Yanjiu couldn't help but swear. It's good that you know, my master is very powerful. Zihu started to flatter him. Qian Yanjiu nodded. Now he had no reason to deny it. After all, he had seen it with his own eyes, so there was no way it could be false. You said you saw Rong Ci and Lan 11, where are they now? Yu Lingfeng asked, since he saw it, the Shadow Hunter almost died at the hands of Yu Lingfeng and Qian Yanjiu, why didn't he make any movement or come out to stop him? Yu Lingfeng is still quite puzzled. Even though I saw them during the kidnapping that day, I didn't see them after that. As for where they are, we don't know. Qian Yin said. Where will they be? Yu Lingfeng murmured. Then how did they look at you that day? Was it hatred or disregard? Thousands of Yanjiu questions. It should be regarded as ignoring. Qian Yins recalled, at that time, I felt that Rong Ci was like a puppet, without any soul, as if he was being manipulated by others. What about Lan 11? Qian Yanjiu asked again. Lan 11 is still the same Lan 11. He was not surprised when he saw us. Qian Yins continued, I always feel that this incident has something to do with them. But where they could go, we don't know. 11 Ju continued. Forget it, they will come out when it's time to show up, but for now, it is impossible for the Shadow Hunters to come out to cause trouble again, Yu Lingfeng said. If you ask me, we should have wiped them out at one fell swoop at that time. They are all half dead anyway, and there is no point in keeping them. There's no point in killing him. Yu Lingfeng said, anyway, they no longer pose a threat to Yuqinsha, so just let them live and breathe. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1615. Chapter 1615 Extra Chapter of Xiafeng and His Wife, 143. Now I just hope that Rongkai will be okay. Fanyan has been gone for so many years, and it's time for him to return to life. Then do you want to tell Jun Chenai about finding Rong Ci? Zihu asked. It's better not to do it for the time being, because we don't know whether Rong Ci will appear again. Yu Lingfeng said. Then why did Lan 11 make Rong Ci look like a human or a ghost? Qian Yins asked, thinking about what he saw that day. Rong Ci felt trembling in his heart. Perhaps, I want him to live. Even if he is alive like a cold machine, it is better than dead. Lan 11, maybe that's what he thinks. Then why are you involved with the Shadow Hunters again? Xia Ying asked. Probably the Shadow Hunters wanted Rong Ci to return to their organization and lead them to a comeback, but they didn't expect that Rong Ci was already in this state. Qian Yanjiu said. Xia Ying sighed, if you say that, maybe it is a good thing for Lan 11 and Rong Ci. Since the shadow hunters are also missing, they should have taken advantage of the chaos to escape and find a quiet place where no one will disturb them. Let's spend the rest of our lives together. Yu Lingfeng's eyes lit up, and she suddenly felt that what Xia Ying said made sense. Sure enough, only women understand women best. Yu Lingfeng and Qian Yanjia were still speculating at that time about why the shadow hunters were about to perish, but Rong Ci still didn't show up. At that time, Lan 11 might have run away with him. Maybe the person she will protect in the next life will never have a place for her in her heart, but she has no regrets, as long as he lives well. What you said seems to make sense. I thought it was the shadow hunter who controlled Rong Ci. Rong Ci may have hatred for me now. But I didn't expect that Rong Ci might have been just a from the beginning. As for Lan 11 just stayed with Rong Ci, fearing that he would do something stupid again one day. Qian Yanjia continued, so, we don't have to worry about Rong Ci and Lan 11 anymore. Maybe he will be hidden in the world for the rest of his life. Yu Lingfeng nodded, I will talk to Jun Chenai. Qian Yanjia took a deep breath, well, everything is finally over. Qian Yins looked at Qian Yanjia and asked, so what are you going to do next? Qian Yanjia paused, glanced at him, thought for a while, and said, go back to Qinsha, and then like you, I will find a wife to start a family and start a business, so that you will not laugh at me next time we meet. Thousands of big men from Qinsha, who are you going to find? Qian Yin smiled. Qian Yanjia rolled his eyes at him and said, except for Qian Sha, do I have no other friends? For example. When Qian Yins asked, Qian Yanjia really couldn't answer. He became angry and said, what does it have to do with you? You know how to meddle in your own business every day. I'm thinking about you. If you really can't find a partner, I can introduce you to some female stars. If you have any young ladies that you like, I can help you introduce them. Qian Yins teased Qian Yanjia, and Qian Yanjia got angry and left Ju, quitting the group chat. These people are really annoying. Especially the stinky Qian Yins. It's great to have a partner. He will also have a partner. Besides, wasn't there Xiajin who was alone with him? He was not in a hurry at all. He is such a charming person, he will definitely find someone. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1616. Chapter 1616 Ronkai, 1. On the bed, the pale girl slowly opened her eyes. Her eyelids were so heavy that she couldn't hold them all open, so she could only half squint and look at the busy girl in front of the bed. Lan 11. Fanyan weakly called Lan 11's name, but Lan 11 was concentrating on preparing the medicine at the moment and didn't even notice the faint call. Lan 11 looked at an old book on the table, and then stretched out her fair arm. The multiple wounds on her wrist showed that this was not the first time that she had used her own blood as an introduction to medicine. Lan 11 expressionlessly scratched it with a knife, and the blood seeped out from the fair skin, which looked shocking. However, Lan 11 had long been used to it, so she didn't feel much pain, but continued to prepare the medicine as if nothing had happened. Fanyan watched the scene with helpless eyes, the corners of his eyes were moist, and a tear fell down. Lan 11. Sanskrit tried his best to shout out the name. Lan 11 was startled and looked at Fanyan, her pupils suddenly dilated. Fanyan, are you awake? Fanyan's eyes were fixed on the wound on Lan 11's arm, and drops of blood dripped on the medicine container. Fanyan felt that his eyes were beginning to soar. Lan 11, listen to me, don't do stupid things, no, don't use your own life to save me. Fanyan knows that there is no cure for the poisonous poison, and the only cure is to fight poison with poison. But the price is very high, and many lives may be lost just to save one person. Lan 11 has been studying medicine since she was a child. She has tasted a variety of medicinal herbs and soaked in countless herbal medicines. Her growth process has caused her body to contain a large number of toxin antibodies. Lan 11's blood is highly poisonous, but such poison is a life-saving medicine for Fanyan. It's just that Lan 11's blood cannot completely cure the poison in Fanyan's body. She could only use her own blood to suppress the poisonous sound every time. However, the cost and price of such suppression were too high. The amount of blood consumed every time is quite large, and one day, Lan 11's body will be destroyed by himself. And she may not be able to completely remove the poison. If Lan 11 wants to save her, he must fight once and exchange his own life for hers. However, the success rate is not high. Fanyan didn't want to see Lan 11 do this for her. The two of them were neither relatives nor friends, not even friends. The only bond is that they both like the same man. What will Rong Si do if they both die? Fanyan hopes that he will die, at least in this way, Rong Si will have Lan 11 by his side, and he will not be so lonely. Lan 11 was startled. Although she didn't know how Fanyan knew this, she still said decisively, "I have already decided, I will let you recover. Rong Si can't live without you. Don't I thought I cared so much about you, I just cared about Rong Si. If Rong Si didn't like Sanskrit so much, she wouldn't have made such a decision. She knew that even if Fanyan died, Rong Si would not like her or be with her. Then she might as well die to save Fanyan and let Rong Si remember her kindness and her as a person for the rest of his life. Since she couldn't make Rong Si's Bayu Egwang, she didn't want to make Rong Si's mosquito blood. This is the best solution she can think of for the three of them. That's not fair to you. Sanskrit is still trying to admonish her. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 1617. Chapter 1617 Ronkai, 2. She was the one who trained the voodoo, and the backlash from the voodoo is the result she should bear. Her fault cannot be paid for by other people's lives. She has never regretted practicing gu in the first place, and certainly does not regret the consequences she has to bear now. However, she does not want to owe others, nor does she want others to do this. The cause she sows should be borne by her. Rong Si is innocent, and so is Lan 11. Fanyan likes Rong Si, but has never thought of being with Rong Si. Because she knew that was impossible. It was impossible for people like her to be happy. Nor does she deserve the love of others, and she has been obsessed with revenge her whole life. She has killed countless people in her life and her hands are stained with blood. She should pay for it all. As for Rong Si, this child who grew up in a beautiful environment is different from someone like her who grew up in a dark corner. They are not from the same world and will not come together. Therefore, she avoided Rong Si's feelings again and again, left Rong Si again and again, and violated her original intention again and again. Now, let her welcome death well. This is what she should do. There is nothing fair or unfair. Lan 11 said, maybe this is God's only gift to you. Lan 11 looked at Fanyan calmly and said, when I was young, when I grew up with the children in the orphanage, I was surrounded by boys. Whether I was a boy or a girl, everyone liked me. And you were just a weirdo at that time, a weirdo that everyone would stay away from. But you are such a weirdo, but you can be favored by Rong Si. I don't know why he likes you so much. You behave weirdly. With a withdrawn personality, like a plastic doll. But Rong Si just likes to hang around you. It's funny, there are so many boys who like me, but I only care about Rong Si, who never sees me, only you. I know that you have a tragic life experience. You were abducted and lived a life worse than death. You finally escaped. You thought you were finally liberated, but you met a smiling tiger Yundi. He found that you were very talented at goo insects, so he thought train you to become a master of goo training. But practicing goo is so sinister and terrifying. You were so young, scared and helpless, but you had no choice but to accept Jundi's arrangement. You used goo insects to kill people, but it was obviously not you who killed them, but June did. But everyone knew that you could practice goo, and they all thought it was you, and regarded you as a monster and the murderer. So June did took advantage of it. I took you out of there and officially became a member of the Shadow Hunters, a witch that everyone in the world fears. When Lan 11 mentioned the past, Fanyan's eyes flickered and he stared at her for a long time, his lips trembling. How do you know this? These things have always been a dusty secret in Fanyan's heart and have never been mentioned to outsiders. No one would know. How did Lan 11 know this? You don't have to worry about this. In short, I have known about you for a long time. Lan 11 took the medicine and handed it to Fanyan. Drink it and you will feel better. Fanyan pursed her li. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 1618. Chapter 1618 Ronkai, 3. Fanyan's eyelashes trembled as she stared at Lan 11. She knew that with her current physical condition, she had no ability to compete with Lan 11. With one sip of the Sanskrit sound, I drank all the medicine in front of me. The medicine was bitter, and my heart was also bitter. However, after taking the medicine, Fanyan did feel much more comfortable, and the feeling like thousands of ants crawling on her body just now disappeared. The whole person felt much more comfortable. You know, I've always envied you. Fanyan looked at Lan 11's movements and said. Lan 11 paused, turned his head and stared at Fanyan meaningfully. That's interesting, I've always envied you. In Fanyan's eyes, Lan 11 is a child who grew up surrounded by love, and she, a child who lacked love since childhood, envied everything about Fanyan. You only see my beautiful side, but not my dark side. Lan 11 narrowed her eyes and said. Fanyan stared at Lan 11 seriously. She was very familiar with the look on her face. She must have suffered some hardships that Fanyan didn't know about. You envy me because I have always been liked by many people since I was a child. But none of those people hold me in their heart. They just like my appearance. No one, like wrong ci, is like wrong ci. Don't do that to you. At the end of Lan 11's words, his voice gradually faded away, and a bitter smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Fanyan breathed a sigh of relief. Ronkai was her only hope in this world, the only light in her dark world. Why do you like Ronkai? Sanskrit asked seriously. If she would like wrong ci, there are too many reasons. Wrong ci was so kind to her, making Fanyan feel the love she had never felt before. She has countless reasons to love wrong ci. But as for Lan 11, as she said herself, she had never been in wrong ci's eyes, and the time she had been in contact with wrong ci was only a handful. When he was young, wrong ci almost only stayed with Fanyan. Like someone, sometimes it just happens in a moment. Lan 11 thought of the past and smiled lightly. On the first day I came there, because I couldn't adapt to the life there, I hid in a corner and cried alone. Wrong ci found me and he comforted me for a long time. When I saw his warm smile, I fell in love with him. Lan 11 smiled bitterly. I just didn't expect that was the only time we were intimate. In the days that followed, I discovered that he was indeed a very warm person, but he gave away all his love. All given to one person, you. Fanyan pursed her lips and said nothing. I don't know why I fell in love with someone because of a smile and stayed with me for the rest of my life. Tears flashed in Lan 11's eyes. I used to think that people in novels and TV shows fall in love with someone who doesn't like me for the rest of their lives. People who even give up their lives are stupid, but I never thought that I would become the person I looked down on at the beginning. Have you ever thought that maybe if I die, You and Rong Si will have a chance. Sanskrit says. Lan 11 looked back at her, watching quietly, but I don't want to see him so sad, so I want you to live. Even if he doesn't like me, I won't allow him to forget me. I want him to remember me forever. Stay with me and pay me back slowly in your next life. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 1619. Chapter 1619 Ronkai, 4. Fanyan, please promise me that I will meet Ronkai first in my next life, and I will definitely hold on to him. Every word Lan 11 said was like a steel needle, piercing Fanyan's heart, causing her to gasp in pain. In the afternoon, Rong Si came back. The first thing he did when he came back was to go over and read Sanskrit music without stopping. Hearing Lan 11 say that, Fanyan opened his eyes. Rong Si was so excited that he could not speak. He just looked at Fanyan on the bed and kept crying. Lan 11, thank you, I don't know how to thank you. Rong Si looked at Lan 11 with tearful eyes. Lan 11 smiled bitterly, you're welcome. Fanyan looked at the two of them, holding the corner of the bed sheet tightly with his left hand. Lan 11 silently retreated and closed the door, leaving Rong Si and Fanyan alone in the room. Sangyin, how are you, how do you feel, is it still hurting anywhere? Rong Si anxiously asked about the Sanskrit sounds. Fanyan showed a pale smile, stretched out his trembling hand, and touched Rong Si's face. Rong Si, I don't feel any pain. Fanyan, you will definitely get better, promise me that you will never leave me again, okay? Fanyan looked at Rong Si's tears and his eyes turned red. How could she be so selfish? She told Rong Si countless times that it was impossible for them to be together, but Rong Si never listened. Rong Si just wants to stay with her forever. Rong Si, listen to me. Rong Si's heart suddenly skipped a beat. He always felt that because Sanskrit was suddenly so serious, what he was going to say to him must not be what he wanted to hear. The last time Fanyan spoke to him in this tone, Fanyan left the next day. This time, Rong Si would not allow such a thing to happen no matter what. I don't listen. Rong Si interrupted coldly, Fanyan, you know, I can't live without you. So you have to live well and stay by my side forever. Fanyan's eyes were filled with tears and she sobbed, Rong Si, do you know that if you want to save me, Lan 11 will die? Rong Kai's eyes stung for a while. During this time, he has been forcing himself not to think about Lan 11's contribution to him. Lan 11 saved his life and took care of him for several months, but he remained indifferent to her. In order to save Fanyan, Lan 11 went up the mountain to collect medicine. She didn't come back for several months and became very haggard. Rong Si also forced herself to ignore it. He knew that he was sorry for Lan 11, but he had no way to repay Lan 11, at least emotionally, he had no way to make up for Lan 11. Rong Si thought that when Fanyan recovered, they would repay Lan 11's kindness together. However, this sentence of Sanskrit makes Rong Kai really embarrassed. Lan 11 cannot die. She has already paid so much for him. Since he can't give Lan 11 anything, at least he can't just watch Lan 11 die. Lan 11 is a good girl, she shouldn't have such an ending. Fanyan choked up and continued, Rong Si, promise me that you will take good care of Lan 11 for the rest of your life. I have no way to repay Lan 11's kindness, so you can help me return it to her, okay? Rong Si did not answer, but was speechless and choked for a long time. Sangyin has never seen Rong Si cry so sadly. Fanyan reached out and gently wiped Rong Si's tears, Rong Si, I love you, and I will never avoid you in the next life. Rong Si cried heartbreakingly, and Fanyan felt like her heart was being torn into pieces. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 1620. Chapter 1620 Ronkai, 5. Sanskrit, don't leave me, don't. Ronkai's tears kept falling down like dropped pearls. He cried until his vision began to blur, and the appearance of the Sanskrit sounds in his eyes became increasingly unclear. Fanyan held back her tears, but no matter how hard she tried, her eyes still turned red. I don't want you to die, I can trade my own life for yours, I don't want you to die. Rong Si was like a child, crying heartbrokenly. Lan 11, who was about to ask Rong Si to eat, was leaning against the corner, listening to Rong Si's crying in the room, and her eyes were red. She probably guessed that Fanyan must have shown off his cards to Ronkai. In the end, Fanyan still chose to let herself die. In the end, there was still no room for her to appear in this relationship. Rong Si, don't do this. Fanyan looked at Rong Si's hands that were holding her tightly and had veins on them. You can't save me. This is my fate. No one can die on my behalf. From the first day she practiced Gu Worm, she knew that she would end up like this. But she never regretted it. If she had to choose again, she would still choose the situation today. Although the road she has traveled has been bumpy and bumpy, it was all her own choice. Even if it doesn't end well, that's what she should bear. In this life, her hands have been stained with too much blood, and it's time for her to pay it back. This afternoon, Rong Si stayed with Fanyan and refused to leave. It wasn't until Lan 11 came to bring medicine to Fanyan and Rong Si saw with his own eyes that Lan 11 used his own blood to make medicine and fed it to the pale Fanyan on the hospital bed that Rong Si's heart was severely tugged. Rong Si looked at Lan 11, her expression was not much better. In fact, Lan 11's complexion began to deteriorate from the time she started treating Fanyan. It's just that Rong Si's attention was always on Fanyan and he never saw these things that had existed for a long time. Fanyan is right, there is no need for Lan 11 to pay for the faults of others with his own life. She could obviously have a more brilliant and beautiful life, but she couldn't ruin it all just to fulfill him and Fanyan. Rong Si called Lan 11 out, and the two of them talked alone. Lan 11 looked up at Rong Si, and could still see the red bloodshot eyes in Rong Si's eyes. Under the cold moonlight, Lan 11 looked at this face silently. Does it look good? It's very beautiful, yes, but it's not as good as it is unparalleled in the world. There is never a shortage of beautiful faces in this world, and she will be able to meet many good-looking men in the future. But she didn't understand why she became obsessed with this man. Even the drama of letting go and fulfilling love for the sake of love, which I have always disliked and only existed in novels, happened to me. She just didn't want to see such a face and feel sad. She was still obsessed with this man's smile. When he smiled, she felt that any effort was worth it. Lan 11, let me ask you, is Fanyan's disease incurable? Rong Si's voice was very light, with no tone, just a common question. Obviously he already had the answer in mind, but just wanted to get a more definite reply. Lan 11 did not lie, and nodded, unless I use my blood to remove the poison from her body, however, I will die from excessive blood loss, and the chance of success is actually not high. End of this chapter.